Good evening. This is Thursday, October 16th, 19 days until the 2008 presidential election. What you already knew was ugly, chances are whatever you caught of last night's debate confirmed that, is tonight officially violent. Our fifth story on the countdown, just uttering Senator Obama's name, now apparently enough to get you a black eye at a Palin campaign event from a pack of old ladies. I wish I were kidding. I am not. Dateline Laconia, New Hampshire, what the Republican vice presidential candidate calls the Great Northwest. The Boston Globe interviewing two young men who claim they told police they were kicked and harassed when they chanted Obama at yesterday's Palin rally there, one of them with an injury that might back up the story.
Can I just get a shot then of the eye?
Yeah, sure.
We don't want to do anything.
And who did it?
Yeah, a 65-year-old lady, along with 15 more, because we chanted Obama.
I was in the crowd just, cheering on Obama, and a bunch of old ladies obviously didn't like what I was doing. I was just chanting Obama when they chanted McCain and booed when they cheered. I got punched in the face, elbowed, pushed everywhere, and just harassed. And then I was escorted out by one of the officers, which completely understood that I wasn't doing anything. He watched me for a while, shook my hand, really nice guy.
What sorts of things were people saying to you when you were shouting Obama?
That I was a traitor, I was anti-American, that I was a scumbag, I shouldn't be alive. Some pretty mean stuff.
Meanwhile, this afternoon in Elon, North Carolina, Governor Palin suggesting that a protester there should be allowed to stay so the crowd could teach him a lesson.
You know what? Maybe we need to tell security that maybe he need not go. Maybe he needs to stay and learn a little bit from all of you.
Giving her and them the full benefit of the doubt must have been a robust intellectual discussion of some kind. An argument harder to make, though, about the McCain campaign's robocall attacks, since the conversation is always one-sided. Minutes after Senator McCain dismissed William Ayers as an old, washed-up terrorist at last night's third and final debate, his campaign and the RNC auto-dialing voters with claims of Obama having, quote, worked closely with domestic terrorist Bill Ayers, whose group, quote, killed Americans. Senator McCain also doing nothing at the debate to change the tone of the campaign. In fact, quite the opposite, suggesting that what Senator Obama and his supporters say and do at Democratic rallies is just as bad, if not worse.
Let me just say categorically, I'm proud of the people that come to our rallies. Whenever you get a large rally of 10, 15, 20,000 people, you're going to have some fringe peoples. You know that. And we've always said that that's not appropriate. There's a lot of things that have been yelled at your rally, Senator Obama, that I'm not happy about either.
Of course, it is hard to find any examples of that, especially when the Democratic nominee makes a habit of not even allowing his supporters to boo Senator McCain, something he did again today in New Hampshire.
Even as we face the most serious economic crisis of our time, even as you're worried about keeping your jobs or paying your bills or staying in your homes, my opponent's campaign announced earlier this month that they want to turn the page on the discussion of our economy so they can spend the final weeks of this election attacking me instead. Don't boo now, just vote.
Time now to bring in our own Richard Wolffe, also, of course, senior White House correspondent for Newsweek magazine. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Keith.
It's easy to dismiss that report from Laconia, New Hampshire, but the two guys say they went to the police. If they fabricated that story, they could be liable for prosecution. Plus, they admit in public to being beaten up by old ladies. Is it plausible and is it disturbing, or is this part and parcel of a campaign in 2008?
Well, it shouldn't be. Look, it's hard to talk about the plausibility of these individuals from this kind of distance, but disturbing it most definitely is. And let's just take a step back here. The world is paying a lot of attention to this election. The world has a big stake in it because America is so heavily engaged around the world. And remember, America is doing what it has done for a long time, which is trying to spread democracy. So if you're going to advocate for democracy, then you need to pay very careful attention to the peaceful transfer of power, which is at the core of this whole process. And when these things happen, and yes, there's some pushing and shoving at lots of events, but when these things happen, when hateful comments are made, when intimidation is used, whoever it is, wherever it is, the campaigns need to be very much on top of it and crack down on it as to the full extent that they can.
And to that point, the Secret Service is now saying it is not investigating what supposedly happened at Scranton at the Palin event earlier this week, somebody shouting, but nobody in their officer in the crowd did not hear somebody shouting, "Kill him," referencing Obama. There's some weird logic to that, but we'll let that pass for the second because they are investigating a second similar incident. We have at least 2 examples, treason, terrorists, those are on tape. We know that happened, and there's another allegation that's being investigated of kill him. My question is not about prosecution, but about McCain in this instance, and maybe about Obama too. Why not a statement? You know, we don't know who said what about Senator Obama, but any implication of physical violence is inappropriate, and we urge our supporters and Senator Obama's to refrain at all costs. Who would disagree with Senator McCain? What response could he possibly get other than applause?
Well, that would be very important as a tone to set from a leader. And remember that McCain made a big deal out of in the debate about the repudiation of Congressman Lewis's comments. The thing about the Secret Service is that they're involved in the protection of the candidate. So it doesn't surprise me that they wouldn't go and take this to the next step. But a statement really isn't enough here in the sense that it's not surprising that these crowds respond in this way. They are being primed to think of Obama as a terrorist sympathizer, as a friend to terrorists. And remember, that's not just about Bill Ayers. For several months now, the McCain campaign has suggested this is the preferred candidate, in their own phrase, of Palestinian terrorists, specifically Hamas. So it's not surprising that these crowds feel that this is appropriate response, and you have to be extremely careful with that kind of emotion because you cannot control it once it starts.
All right, let's tamp it down for a second here. I think John McCain right now has a Bill Ayers problem. Obama got to the topic, in essence, forced his hand last night. McCain had to be somewhat defensive in addressing it, and he addressed it almost cursorily. He called him a washed-up terrorist in whom he is not interested. But his robocalls are about the guy he's not worried about and not interested in. How many political things are wrong in that picture?
There are lots of confusing things here about the Ayers strategy. Remember, last night he raised it himself, McCain did, in a response to a question about negative campaigning. And then he ended that whole conversation saying, but my campaign is really about the economy. And really, here's the bottom line here. Every minute they spend talking about Bill Ayers is a minute wasted when they should be talking about the economy. It's off topic. It's not what voters care about. And to that extent, McCain is missing his target.
And in a bigger picture here, with the idea of country first still being the thing that hangs behind their heads as they talk, whether or not that's still the campaign, we don't know. But Senator McCain has chosen his strategy for the final weeks of this campaign. It risks, to some degree, if McCain loses and Obama wins, it risks in some quarters delegitimizing the election of his opponent, if that is what happens, not to mention potentially fomenting violence, even if it never gets any further than some people being beaten up by old ladies. But to top it off, ultimately, as we look in the zero-sum part of the game, it doesn't seem to be working.
Right. Well, and look, I think the whole strategy behind the voter registration piece of this, the whole Acorn idea, the scandal that they're trying to suggest is out there, is to delegitimize the ultimate result. So, you're asking voters to project out beyond an election day. That's never going to work. It's like saying, do we want Democrats to run the whole of Washington? You're already assuming people are saying, you're going to lose. Never a winning strategy.
Richard Wolffe of MSNBC and Newsweek in the flesh today. As always, sir, great thanks for coming by.
Thank you, Keith.